Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be tier ranking fantasy romance. So fantasy romance is one of my favorite genres. I feel like I've read a ton over the last year, so stick around to see how I rate and review all of these romance books. Let me start by saying that this rank is all my personal opinions. So reading is subjective. Everyone brings their own experiences into reading. There are going to be books that I probably rate low that you guys absolutely love, and vice versa. So with that being said, let's get into the tier list. All right, guys, so the way I broke this down was perfection is the top tier. It's perfect. I liked everything about it. Chef's kiss. The next is great. I really enjoyed this. I would probably recommend this and reread this. Next is okay. It was fine. There were a couple things I probably didn't like about it, but I really enjoyed it while I was reading it. Then is not for me. I can understand why other people would like this. It's just not my taste. And last is nope. I just didn't like this book and that's it. So let's jump in. First we have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is easy. This is going right into perfection. I inhaled this book. I loved it so much. I loved the romance between Hawk and Poppy. I loved the world. It had some paranormal aspects that I thought were really cool. So yeah, gonna keep that there. Also, let me know that if I don't say the authors, because some of these I don't know off the top of my head, I'm gonna post them in under this video, so you'll be able to see them. So next is The Bridge Kingdom, which I recently read. I did enjoy it. It had a lot more politics in it that I actually really liked. I love the slow burn romance. I just wish it had been a little bit longer so we could get more of an immersive world. I'm gonna put this with great. I really enjoyed this. This was like a surprise, awesome read for me. Next is a sequel of a book. So I'm gonna find the first one, Fortuna Sworn. So I enjoyed this book. I found it on my Kindle. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. It's a very dark fantasy romance. It's about a nightmare is her power. So this girl named Fortuna has the ability to sense people's fears and kind of project them at them. And her brother disappears, and then one day a fairy shows up on her doorstep and says, if you agree to marry me, I'll help you find your brother. And it goes from there. There are trigger warnings for sexual assault, slavery. I mean, there's a lot of dark stuff in this, but it was a very good read. I'll put this with great, because I did really enjoy it, and I would want to reread it again. However, the sequel, Restless, Slumber, I'm going to put that at not for me. I felt like the tone of the book really changed. It felt much more like a paranormal book, which I don't dislike. It was just the first one. It just had such a different feel from the first book, and I enjoyed the first book so much. And it just felt very jarring going from one to the other. So I think that it was good. I just haven't read the third one. I think the third one's been out for like a week. Next is A Deal with the Elf King. I like this. I didn't feel super connected to the romance aspect of it, but I did like the overall story. For those of you who don't know, it's about a girl or a woman who has to marry an elf king in order to keep kind of the harmony between their two worlds going. And it did have some steamy stuff that I liked. I would probably put this with great. It's between great and okay. I'm gonna put it with okay for now. It might get moved up. These are subject to change. Next is The Cruel Prince. This is gonna be controversial. I didn't like this. So I read the first one, wasn't crazy about it, read the second one, liked the second one, and then The Queen of Nothing I just despised. So overall, I don't know. I'm not even sure if you can classify this as a fantasy romance. I think the relationship with Carden is a big factor, so that's why I put it on the list. I just didn't like Carden personally. I'm going to put not for me, because there are people that absolutely love this book. Next up is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I just finished this. I think there are issues as far as pacing is concerned. I think that as the book progresses, there are just kind of like jumps in time where I feel like you don't resolve an issue and then you're already moving on to the next one. So I wasn't crazy about that. I also felt like the main love interest could have been developed a little bit more. However, I did love the story and I flew through this while I was reading it. So I'm going to put this at okay, because while I was reading it, I really liked it. I don't know. And I will read the sequel. It might be great. I'm going to leave this at okay too. That might change. A Touch of Darkness. I think this is by Scarlett St. Clair. I really enjoyed this. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I think I found it on like a book similar to Blood and Ash or something. And I really liked it. I'll put this with great because it had everything I wanted in fantasy romance. You got the steaminess, you got the slow burn, it had everything. I like that a lot. Next up is another one I wasn't sure if I wanted to put on this list, and that is Serpent and Dove, which is great. I know all BookTube talks about it. Everyone pretty much knows what it's about at this point, but it's a witch and a witch hunter through some interesting circumstances end up having to get married and how they kind of go from there. I'll put this with great because I did really enjoy it. Next is Where Dreams Descend, and if I'm going to be honest, I forget a lot about this. I know it's a woman, she's a magician, and she leaves to go into this competition called Spectacular, and she kind of has a thing with one of the judges, and I enjoyed it. This is one that I really enjoyed while I was reading it and was super excited about the sequel, but now I'm kind of forget a lot about it. So this is firmly going to go in okay. Next up, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I love this book. It's not my favorite though in the series. I'll put this with great. This will go with great. I mean, what can I say? It's all Sarah J. Maas books here are going to get ranked high, and that's just what's going to happen. Next up is Rhapsodic. So there are parts of this that I enjoyed. There are parts of it that I thought were kind of weird. So I like the overall story. I thought the bargainer element was really cool, that he grants wishes for favors. I liked the mystery element. I thought it was very smut heavy. So not my fave. I will put with okay, because I did enjoy this one the most out of the two that I read. Next up is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I love certain aspects of this book. So there's a war scene that happens that I couldn't put the book down for. I feel like, unlike From Blood and Ash, not as much happens in this one as in From Blood and Ash. A lot more steamy scenes, but I feel like it was kind of to the detriment of the story. So I will put this with, I still read it really, really fast and really liked it. Oh, I don't know. I'll put it with great. That's also liable to change. We'll see. All right. A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is easy. Perfection. This is my favorite book in this series. Obviously, chapter 54, chapter 55, but also The Inner Circle is my favorite group of individuals ever written. I love everything about this book. It's my favorite. I think I've reread it 3 or 4 times at this point. Next is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. So although A Court of Mist and Fury is my favorite overall of the books, this has my favorite scene. It's the High Lord scene where they all come together. I love that scene. So I'm going to put that in great. I think I'm actually going to move A Court of Thorns and Roses down a peg just because that's pretty much how I like them in that order. So, okay. Let's see where we go here. Next is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I started out hating this book. I was 100 pages in and I was DNF'd it. And then I'm so happy I kept reading and everyone said just to keep going because that ending, the whole ending of that book was just amazing. I mean, I laughed, I cried. It was great. So that's going to go perfection easily. And I'm going to do a reading vlog, I think, where I reread this because I definitely want to reread it before the next one comes out. All right. Next up, we have Master of Salt and Bone. So the only reason I read this was it was on a similar books to, I think, either From Blood and Ash or Court of Thorns and Roses. And this was not my thing. I did not enjoy this. It was a guy that goes through a whole lot of trauma when he is younger, and then he just becomes this kind of dark, lives in seclusion like character, and then this woman ends up moving in with him, and it goes from there. But it wasn't for me. It kind of felt like fantasy and 50 Shades of Grey, and I just wasn't a fan. So that's gonna go nope. Hard nope. Definitely didn't like it. Next is the second book in the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. This is where this series kind of lost me. So like I said, the first one I wasn't super crazy about, but I like the whole mystery element and like I like the characters enough. This one, it just felt like a weird copy of A Court of Thorns and Roses, but with more steam, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people like this, so I'm going to put this not for me because I understand there are a lot of people that like the series, and I'm sure I just personally, for me, I wasn't a fan of it. Next we have Bonecryer's Moon, which I debated putting on this or not, but I guess there is a lot. It came up on Goodreads as fantasy romance, so I kept it. But this is young adult. It's very cute. I liked the story and I loved the magic system a lot. It's like these women kill animals and their bones, by using their bones, they like gain the animal's abilities, and they're pretty much farriers. So if these women kill their one true love through this ceremony, they're able to ferry souls into, I think it's like Hell's Gates or something like that. It's been a while since I read it, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. The only thing I didn't like about it is I felt the romance just was so rushed, and I really did not care if they got together or not, or like what happened to the two of them. The romance kind of felt like it came out of left field for me. So I'm going to put, I don't know if this is okay or not for me, because I have no interest in reading the sequel, honestly. So I'll put not for me. Yeah, okay. We're going to stick with that. Next up, A Court of Frost and Starlight. So this is going to be controversial. I hated this book. Like I said, I love A Court of Thorns and Roses, the series. And I was so excited to read this, and it just felt a little fan fiction-y to me. There were just parts, I know. It's a novella, so like I don't try to take those too seriously. I wasn't a huge fan of it. There are people out there that love it. There are people out there that hate it. So I think it just depends. Next up is Pestilence by also Laura Thalassa. This one someone recommended me. They said if you don't like The Bargainer, maybe you'll like this. Check this series out by her. I hated this one. I don't want to sound mean. I feel like that sounds really negative. Personally, I hated this one. Once again, there are people out there that are going to love it. I just didn't like it. It's the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which sounded super cool. And this is Pestilence, who like brings the plague. So wherever he goes, like plague happens and like people are dying everywhere. And I don't know. It's just the beginning. He's like, it's very hard to describe, but I feel like he kind of assaults the main love interest, and like after a while she kind of falls in love with him, but it feels very Stockholm Syndrome to me. It just doesn't feel like I didn't like it. Wasn't a fan. Also super steamy to the point that I didn't feel like there was like a lot of plot, if any, going on. It was just these people traveling to different spots and doing things. So I'm gonna put that with nope. Hard nope. And last is Blood and Honey. This is the sequel to Serpent and Dove. I was not a huge fan. I'm going to put this not for me, just because, well, I hated that ending. And I don't know, it felt very rushed. It felt like we were just going from one scene to another. And unlike the first one, where you really feel like you're in their heads and you understand everything that's going on with them emotionally, and it's just this like slow burn, this one, I was just super frustrated with the characters the entire time. I don't know. I think I probably will. I will read the next one, though. Maybe I should put this with okay. No, I'm going to stick with not for me. I really did enjoy this. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. So yeah, those are my books, my fantasy recommendations. All right, guys. Thanks for checking out my fantasy romance tier list. If there are any fantasy romance books that you guys enjoy that I didn't add to this list, Please let me know so I can check it out. I'm always looking for new fantasy romance. If you don't know yet, I post new videos every Tuesday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.